Yeah.
Should be June.
Oh,
Welcome to Off the Stage Podcast.
And welcome back to Off the Stage Podcast. We're in season 2 now, aren't we? Because
We are,
yes.
We're either in episode 1 or episode 2. We haven't decided yet.
But yeah, welcome back. We're back in the ship ISIS. I'm James. This is Connor.
We have failed to ignite, also known as...
I've got to get this right. This is like a character arc thing. Anthony. Yeah.
I'll applaud you for getting it right as well. Well done.
I nearly like recorded like a monologue, like where it's pretending like in my brain get, okay, last time you got his name wrong.
Yeah. It's for anyone who's new to watching or listening, we had failed to ignite on a while back, to be fair. Probably one of our early episodes.
Yeah.
I'd say within the first 50 episodes or something like that. And James called him Nathan at the beginning. He's never lived it down. We've done multiple HMV events. You've not even been involved in all of them, but he still gets the jokes taken out of him.
Yeah, that's honestly just...
Anytime somebody with the name Anthony is on the podcast, we have to look at James and be like, you got that?
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, it was actually National Anthony Day yesterday, so was it Anthony or Nathan?
Well, there you go. It's National Nathan Day today. What I find really cool about this episode, particularly, and this is one of the reasons I don't have the laptop with any like part 1, 2, 3, because we want to kind of change the podcast a little bit around. Since you were on the podcast, we'd never met you before then, and since then you've come to our shows, we've come to your shows. James has James supported you as you support James? James supported you. It was a globe, wasn't it? We've done HMV stuff. I think we've kind of built a bit of a musical friendship through this. And this came from the podcast episode.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to kind of not be like, all right, so musician, what do you do? What are you?
Yeah,
it's kind of cool to be like, do you know what? We're all in the industry. We're all in separate parts of the genre industry.
Yeah,
You two are probably linked together by the pop punk, and we're linked together with the loop pedal, and we're linked together because we do a podcast.
Yeah, that's it.
And I don't know how that worked.
It's like a triangle.
Yeah,
But it's kind of come through as quite a nice little...
No, it's
good
good
way to start the new season.
Yeah. I would say I'm happy because this is just happened, hasn't it? And we didn't really plan to have you on the first/second of the second season.
We had you booked in before we decided to go. Fuck, we haven't recorded the next episode. Yeah. Let's take a break.
Yeah. But yeah, I would say like meeting and getting to know you is probably one of the best podcast success stories that I've.
It's like X Factor but better.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. Yeah,
absolutely.
But yeah, no, it's good. I mean, how do you think the podcast? I'm going to be talking to Connor here.
Can I go in with a question for you?
Go on.
What are you drinking?
Oh yeah,
I need a drink before we get into this.
Okay, so this is actually brewed 5 minutes up the road from where we live. It's called V. It's by Vaux.
I still thought you had the horse one, to be honest with you.
Oh no, I nearly got the horse one. I'll get the horse one next time.
Cool.
But I got this one because I just fancied it. I liked it last time I had it. But yeah, it's V. It's like celebrating 5 years of the new Vaux.
Yeah.
So Vaux is like a massive brewery in Sunderland, or it was, and then it got closed down, and then it's made like a resurgence into like a microbrewery, and it's doing some really nice beers.
Well, we usually get like sours and stuff, and when we first came here we went to get the pints, and they're all like craft ales and stuff. It's the first time in 101 episodes they've had the red goodness.
Yeah.
All right, James, the red goodness.
Because there was an episode where I called it the black stuff, and he was, it's red. I was like, what?
Is it red?
Yeah, it's red. You're shining against.
Oh wow!
In fact, it's probably better with that light. It's just a very dark red. And I would normally go for craft ale, but I'm making the most that they've got Guinness on draft today.
Yeah, it's good. I think they've only just started doing that.
Did you get the Guinness Clear as well?
No, this is straight vodka.
A couple of ice cubes, frozen vodkas.
Watering it down because I'm driving, you know.
Yeah, makes sense. Sorry, yes, James, go on with your question. I just thought we had to keep the what you're drinking thing in.
I can't remember what was asked.
Cool.
I actually genuinely can't remember what the question was going to be.
Something about a podcast.
Great
start.
Yeah,
it was just, how do you think the podcast? What would be your successes of the podcast? Would you say?
Do you know what? I feel like we do contribute a lot to the music scene.
Yeah.
And I went to Leeds over the weekend, and I just remember because I walked out the train station and we had to walk past the certain way because the roads were closed. And I was with Ashley, and I was like, this pub is where me and James went, I want to do a podcast. And I was like, we should do like an anniversary one in the Leeds pub upstairs. Just to be like, this is where we started the idea of the pod.
It's a good idea.
But definitely, I've always been guilty of, oh look, I've got this gig, will you come to the gig? Yeah, will you come to mine? I can't, I'm gigging. Oh yeah, I'd love to do that, but I'm gigging. And it's always that kind of like, oh, I hate, like, there's your gig at Head of Steam. I want to go, but because it's the week before my birthday, my fiance said, we might be doing something on the 20th. So at the minute, I'm not gigging. I've got to kind of find out what she's doing. And if that falls through, I'm going to be at your gig. So you are top priority before other gigs. But that doesn't happen a lot. You can't really take priority on gigs because it's our employment. I kind of do like the fact that with the podcast, we've got to meet so many new bands. Some that are still together, some that have fell apart and form new bands. Ironically, with other people we've had on the podcast.
Yeah, you kind of...
and we're like, oh, you were here the other week? Yeah, well, they were looking for a drummer. Oh, that's...
You kind of know the individual people of each band as well.
I like the idea that we know the musicians more so than the music. I know that sounds weird, but you can go to a gig, like, if you'd never met us and you went to my gig, you'd be like, oh, it's a good horse song. You wouldn't kind of get the gist of it, whereas now it's kind of like, no, we built the community. We've got a mini little group chat with WhatsApp, which we're looking to keep adding people in, just to kind of build that local scene industry kind of thing. But I think the podcast has been successful in terms of not only have we been able to get to know people, but I feel like other musicians have got to know other people via our podcast as well. Yeah,
I think that's important as well.
I feel like we're not just saying come to our gig and that's it. We're like come to our gig, but also we do contribute something to the industry.
Yeah,
and we had this rant the other day. Since we started the podcast, and this isn't a bad thing, but you notice other podcasts started since, and it's like mint, people are getting on board. And then we started the gig guide, and other people started the gig guide. And you're like, mint, people are getting on board, and the more things we do, the more you see happens elsewhere. And sometimes it can be frustrating because you're like, it's word for word what we're doing there.
Yeah.
But at the same point, it's like, but that's now amplifying how good the Northeast is.
Yeah, definitely.
I think I said to someone, I was like, if we can really put our heads together and make this massive, you can make the Northeast music scene much better than London's.
You can definitely. It's trying to get people's attention, isn't it? And it's you only do that by building a strong, centralised kind of system, which London does have. But I think, to be honest, I reckon the music in Newcastle and the Northeast is second to none. Like it's
I think there's some like hidden gems in the Midlands and York and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think the only reason London is the place to be is because it's the capital of England. All the big labels are down there. So people are like, well, if you want to work with us, you've got to come to our big places. And everybody goes to London, but nobody looks at where they've come from. So Sam Fender might have an apartment down in London, but the fella's done pretty well coming out of North Shields. And then you've got Andrew Cushion coming out of North Shields. And it's like, if you look at where they're coming from, if you can make the community big. At one point in our off-the-stage career, I want to add on top of the podcast, like an off-the-stage records. See if we can get into like the record label side of things.
Yeah.
Definitely not this year. Definitely not next year.
No.
Definitely not any year before I get married because there's an expense and a half anyway.
Yeah.
But something down the line where it's like, do you know what? You don't need London.
No, that's it.
Definitely.
In fact, just whilst I'm on a rant, I saw a TikTok the other day of some independent artist nearly got signed. They were this close to getting signed.
Oh, I
saw it.
50,000
but you don't have 50,000 followers, so don't need you. I was like, if I had 50,000 followers, wouldn't need the label. That's what you're not getting. People need the next step. They don't need the final step. Once you've got the fan base, you're sorted.
Yeah.
You just need to get that acknowledged step.
Definitely.
It's just, to me, that's just... It's
labels
so,
are going downhill.
Honestly, it's so just like, you put in all hard work, and then what we'll do is we'll take all the credit.
Yeah.
We'll just kind of put...
Take the credit, take the money, and sign you to a contract where you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, essentially, we'll put you in a... this is what kind of X Factor and stuff used to do. There's some horror stories where... So once you're in the X Factor, you sign away like everything, even stuff you've done beforehand. You've got to sign it to them. And if you win X Factor, they'll bring out the red carpet for you. They'll get you all the fancy hotels and stuff like that. Get you on all like the record studios, and you'll record a proper cool album, and you know you'll be living like the A-list celebrity. And then at the end of the year, they'll go, okay, so here's what you've been paid, but your expenses are this limousine, this hotel, the record label studio. So you owe us £20,000.
Yeah.
So you end up in massive debt. And then they go, well, I want out the contract. So the only way you can get out the contract is with Simon Cowell's permission.
Yeah.
So you're just stuck.
It's also a thing of, with X Factor, if you go on the show, you have to sign a contract that says, even if you've put out the song already, they own it by you just auditioning.
Yeah.
It's absolutely mental. And also with labels, you may as well just take a bank loan out.
Yeah.
I know loads of like bands, not like huge ones, but they've signed to like, you know, indie labels, which are like subsidiaries, is it called? Can't say that name. But like, they're like part of a bigger label, but they're like an indie label, and then they eventually get out the contract and they're like, right, you owe us this with interest, and they never like pay it back. They're in debt for years, you know. So it's absolutely ridiculous at the minute.
Well, that's because when we had the manager on, it's another good thing about the podcast is learning from other people.
We've had labels and managers on,
but the manager was saying basically that's what a label is. It's basically they lend you money. But he says the advantage, there's different kind of contracts that you can get, but like essentially what it is the advantage, the only advantage of it, because I said, well, why don't you just get out of bank loans? Like, so the record label, they have contacts with good PR, so they can get you in the good magazines and they can get you in the good interview slots and stuff like that. So that's pretty much, so it's a bank loan with contacts. That's what a label is. But then again, as you go back to that person who was on 50,000 TikToks, it's like he could go to any kind of thing. Says this is my thing. Can I do an interview? He could get a manager who's good and gets them contacts and do it all himself. He doesn't need a label. But I think a lot of indie artists think that that's the end game. Once you're on a major label, then you've made it.
No.
Is it big? I mean, does that, and like obviously like UMG, Universal Music, no longer on TikTok. So all the music is banned from TikTok. That's only the big artists that's affected. It's not. There's loads of little ones as well, that are owned because they own like 90% of the all music.
But it's even affected.
My music's still on there, right?
It's even affected me. So I was trying to upload a guitar playthrough where I recorded a guitar over the original track, and it said, nah, copyright. But I own that song, so like,
honestly, that's so flippant. Because that's the distributors. So the distributors, like, they own the copyright, but it's weird. They don't really do anything with it, but they notice that some person's trying to use your song or something like that. I don't know how it works.
I have it with Facebook. I remember when I was advertising Home, and I put the video out, and I was like, it's a copyright because the song sounds like Home by Conor Michael. Do you have the rights? And I was like, yeah, I've got some of the rights.
There must be something that they can do to kind of like, because I know TikTok, you can put like your music on there, you can put yourself an artist page. Surely that should kind of help it. I mean, I've got my new remastered songs coming out soon. Actually, will they already be out? They might already be out.
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows when this episode's out. But I'm a bit worried about doing, because you only get like a minute on TikTok, don't you, with the songs? And I've got loads of different little reels that are different parts of the song, so I'm gonna have to upload the song myself. But I'm thinking, well, if I tag the song, surely they'll recognise it as like, oh yeah, that's the song.
You would hope so.
I'd hope so.
That's not James Berry, no.
Yeah,
Well, that's what they'll get you with. This song belongs to Torn Apart by Lucy. Because that's me. No, your name's James Berry.
Actually, no. On TikTok, I'm torn apart by Lucy.
No, right.
I'm just completely torn apart by Lucy. So,
It'll be somewhere in the archives where it's like, but this song originally belonged to the best ever folk rock band out of Fulham.
I will be. You've stolen that song. Yeah.
There's just a heavier guitar riff in there.
Yeah, that's literally all it is, to be fair.
Makes it sound like it's one of the metalcore covers, like our last night.
I personally think there's a bit of a rise in independent artists at the minute.
I think there was.
And I don't know whether it's just my algorithms changing on everything, but I'm getting a lot of independent artist works.
Up. I'm getting a lot of. It's almost like, I don't want to call them memes, but I also call them memes, where it's like every band. There must be some like marketing guru who said these are the kind of videos you need to release, and everybody's doing these exact same videos now.
Guilty.
Well, I mean, it works.
To be fair, any time I see Nathan make a video, I'm instantly with it, and I'm like, I'll do something like this. And sometimes if I've got an idea, I send him a message, and then 10 minutes later he's got it done, and I'm like, now it looks like I'm copying him.
Yeah.
I do think though that's a good idea. Like you were on about that group chat as well. I think it's good to share ideas with each other.
Yeah.
You know, like some people might be like, oh, copy him, but I don't think it's like that. I think we should all help each other out.
If you've got a framework, if you're smart enough, you can make that framework into your own. It's like you're just given the chords, but then you make the song yourself. It's the same with like videos. You get like, okay, this is an idea, but you're always gonna relate your idea to your song, so it's always gonna be slightly different.
Yeah,
it's a good idea. Just everyone help each other out. It's the aim of the game. That's why it's talk about like centralized thing, because you bring everyone up and everyone comes up. If
definitely. It's like there's a story on another podcast. Oh, traitor. I'm not going to shout out the name, but basically...
Oh, you can do it. We don't mind.
It's called So You Want to Be a Rock Star, and it's done by like some people that used to tour in old metalcore bands back in the 2000s. And they said, Asking Alexandria, they're from York, but they got huge. And they still are, to be fair. But like, they promised this guy, they said, if we make it big, because you did all this for us, we'll take you on tour. The first big tour they did, they took him out.
Oh, that's
that
cool.
band grew as well.
That's how you give it back.
Stuff like that, you give back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, aye.
100%. And it's one of them things. I think all independent artists feel that way. You're like, if I make it big, I'll take such and such on tour. I'll come and do that with you. And then it's like, but you've got to get to that level first.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I always quote, like, when we're talking about that kind of stuff, I always quote the London in the 60s, where, like, there was a massive music scene. You'll see posters, and you've got, like, the Kinks headlining a show, and, like, Rolling Stones are supporting.
Yeah.
And it's like, then, like, next month, it's the Rolling Stones supporting, and, like, Kinks is on the head. Like, they're all just kind of, like, they all knew each other, and they're all in the same little places. And then that got all the record labels and stuff like that. They all got interested because there's a big hype about all these bands playing at this one like venue, and then everybody. It's where you got the flipping. Obviously, like the Beatles were like another one. I don't know how much they went to London actually.
Theirs was more Germany, wasn't it? Because they played the covers, but
they
the Mersey sound.
They got massive in Hamburg because they basically played every single night for like 5 hours. We know this more than anyone.
I was just going to say, it sounds familiar.
But everyone else was playing like once a month in Merseyside. So by the time they came back, because they were playing like non-stop every single day for months, they were just like much better than everyone else. So the hype was just all about them. This is a fun story. The only reason they started writing songs is because in the 50s there wasn't that many songs to choose from. So every band was playing the exact same songs, so they were like, we need to do something different. So they were we'll just write one of our own, and that's kind of how it. Fun story.
Weren't they like the first band to have their own songs on the first album as well? Because like it used to be where you did covers for your first album. I'm sure I read up on their first album that was the very first band that had their own songs.
Like in England kind of thing, or
I think it was just in England, to be honest, or like Western culture, But yeah, all bands just had covers on the first album normally.
Because I know
it went.
That's an interesting fact. I didn't know that.
I might have completely made it up. Don't quote me on it, but that's what I remember hearing.
Yeah.
So whether I got lied to as well.
Yeah. No, it sounds about right. Although I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I used to know everything about that era. I was like obsessed with like the 60s, and because it was always like it was post-war.
Yeah.
Where it was only because all the vinyls and stuff from America, they couldn't get them imported. It was only in the late 50s, mid to late 50s, that like people really started hearing like American music. And obviously the kids who grew up during like World War One, like World War Two, post World War Two, never had anything. So all they had was like violin and they came across this blues music, and they were like, what the hell is this? This is flipping mint. So that they recreated that. That's where you get like the 60s sound from. It's like basically their interpretation of blues music.
Cool.
So,
blues on roids.
Yeah, pretty much. A literal, yeah.
We'll take a short break. We'll come back with part 2. We are trying to change the sections a bit, but we've got quite a few Instagram questions for you. So awesome. We'll still do a little Q&A.
Yeah, excellent.
See you in part 2.
See you in a bit. Okay. Getting copyright for this. Nathan! So keep it on.
We're going to get copyrighted, James.
I know, hang on. Nathan!
You know, if you ever do like a big headline gig and people understand that reference, and it's not just us three.
Yeah.
Can you please make your walk-on music the Tintins? That's not my name. They call me Nathan. That's not my name.
Actually, there was a band that recently covered that, and I was like, you know what? This should be off the stage.
Yes, I was like, I think that'd be mint. Oh, I was sitting in my mind a few weeks ago. Welcome back to part 2, Off the Stage. My name is Conor Michael. This is James Berry. This is Failed to Ignite, also known as Anthony. AKA
Nathan.
it's always weird calling you Fail to Ignite, but obviously for brand image I kind of want to get that name stuck in people's heads. And it's also really weird that Nathan's the first thing that comes to your mind, isn't it? Like, we really messed that up.
It's like people have been calling you Anthony for like your entire life, and then I just come along just like some fucking idiot on a podcast.
No, I think the other people got the name wrong.
I look more like a Nathan, to be fair.
Before we went away on part 1, I had a fact about a studio. This is just something I found out randomly the other week because I've been living in a studio at the minute. Do you know the real reason why there is 2 rooms in a normal recording studio, with a control room, the window, and then the recording room?
Is it just isolation?
That's what I thought as well. I thought it was a sound barrier thing.
It's so you can swear and so you fucking dickhead. How the fuck shouldn't shit?
Keep muting it on the swear words.
Yeah.
So that was awful.
Yeah. But it's because back in the day when it was all like tapes and like reel rolls and stuff, the magnets from the microphones would have an effect on the tape and stuff, so they had to have a barrier to stop it from demagnetizing. Otherwise you'd be like, that's done, but the song's fucked.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, that's the reason why.
Oh, that's clever, that. Do you know the first ever use of distortion in a song?
Kinks, you really got me?
No. It was a band in the 50s. I can never remember what the name of the band was, and I can't remember what the name of the song was. I just remember the story. So, obviously, back in the day...
I don't know how you're going to get the end of the story without any information.
You don't need to know that. This is the great thing about the story, is you don't need to know that information. All you need to know is how it came to be. So, obviously, back in the day, you rented out a studio, and it was very expensive. You only had a day to use it, and because there wasn't many, especially in the 50s, there wasn't many studios around. Everybody wanted to use them, so if you didn't make that slot, you couldn't just kind of rebook for the next week. You had to kind of wait ages, and then obviously you wouldn't get your money back, and a lot of people didn't have a lot of money back then, and it was expensive. So this band booked out this recording studio, and they were travelling there. It's in America, so they travelled in like pickup truck, and when they were unloading, the amp fell off the pickup truck, and it broke, and it sounded really distortiony when it wasn't supposed to, and they were like, well, it's the only amp we've got.
We have to use it.
We have to use it. So they use it, and obviously back in them days, the engineers were like scientists with lab coats and stuff, like checking levels, and like, ooh, this gain's totally off. It's like, well, there's now what we can do about it. I'm sorry, mate, there's now what we can do. So they just released it, and that was the first distortion. Yeah.
Wow. I kind of want to find out what that is now.
The reason, which one?
Ike Turner.
Ooh, was it Ike Turner? Oh, I shouldn't have said that. God, that's some good producer work. But
well done.
The reason the likes of the Kinks, what the Kinks did, it wasn't Ray Davies, it was his brother. I just forget his name. But he basically chipped away at his amp with a knife.
Like a speaker, didn't he?
Yeah, and that made like a really kind of growly distortion. But the Rolling Stones used distortion not because of influenced by that, because they liked the really grainy blues footage, like Robert Johnson and stuff like that. So they wanted it to be grainy. That's where they got that idea from. I'm full of like shitty little facts like this, but they always like
sit there.
They do.
Do you know where feedback came from? The first use of feedback.
I don't.
So the Beatles were recording. This is what I've heard again. I'm probably going to be full of shit facts. But the Beatles were recording, and I think it was either Paul or John left the guitar or bass next to the speaker, and it just went. And he went, "Can we get that into like the recording?" And the producer was like, "Why the hell do you want that in the recording?" But start of I Feel Fine, you hear the feedback, and that's the first example. Apparently,
right, that's interesting.
This podcast gives you facts.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say.
So, you've got 10 questions.
Woo!
So people really like you.
Thank you, everyone. I don't feel so alone now.
So we'll power through them. At Captain_K_Morgan13, which 4 pop punk band members do you think belong on the Mount Rushmore of pop punk?
Ooh, that is a good question.
That is a very good question. Yeah. I think it's got to be Travis Barker for drummer, to be honest, because
without a doubt,
he's got like 4 arms or something. I'm sure of it. Vocalist, I don't know, like studio or live, it depends on, because like Blink definitely belong there, but like they don't have the best voices live. So I'd say, in terms of vocals, Billy Joe Armstrong, because he's actually good live. Who would I have on bass? I'm basically just going to make a super group of Green Day and Blink, to be fair.
Yeah,
Sounds like it, yeah.
I would definitely.
No, actually, Matt Freeman from Rancid on bass. His bass solos are ridiculous.
Okay.
And then who's left? Guitar.
Guitar, yeah.
Tom DeLonge on guitar, because his riffs are just that good.
Yeah.
Same person, at Captain_K_Morgan 13. Who would win in a fight, Machine Gun Kelly or Avril Lavigne?
Avril
Brackets,
Lavigne.
Let's Go era.
Avril Lavigne.
Definitely Avril Lavigne.
Smash him over the head with a skateboard.
I'll have to see her next month.
Oh, it's nice.
Excited.
I'm so jealous.
So excited. The first person I ever saw live. Let's see it again.
Simple Plan is supporting her as well. I'm very jealous.
All-time Low is supporting her in the American. I'm not sure if they're coming over for it, but I'd fucking love to see All-Time Low as well. It'd be mint. Again, final question from Captain K. Morgan. What is your favourite song that has been covered by a pop punk band, and which one would you do that hasn't?
Oh, well, I'm just thinking back to the Punk Goes Pop stuff. But actually, no, going further back. It's got to be Goldfinger with 99 Red Balloons, just for that half-time breakdown.
You know what? I do that at I do that in the Dublin all the time. I even do the German.
Oh yeah,
I attempted anyway.
Plus the Eurotrip as well. What a film that is.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't even know what I'm at. Oh, I know where that question came in, because boom, 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 boom. That's the one where.
Where's this gone?
Boom, 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 boom. I want you in my. We're currently recording the pop punk version of that.
Oh.
Exclusive drop.
Yeah. I shouldn't say that, because other people will end up stealing the idea, wouldn't they? Ignore that. We're not doing that.
We'll record it when I'm back in the studio on Tuesday.
Carlos, quickly record this on. For anyone else does.
Right, so I wonder how quick I can set up my recording.
Yeah,
when I get home.
At Mrs. Berry Insert says, do you like 70s/80s punk? What's your favourite group from that era?
I do. I'd say my favourite though is definitely Ramones, because hardcore punk isn't really my thing. You know, the proper oi stuff.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, bands like Ramones and Buzzcocks, they're basically pop punk, but like
I thought
early.
Buzzcocks were very pop punk.
Yeah, Ever Fallen in Love may as well be. Like,
Yeah.
if you added a bit more modern production, it would just be like Green Day.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, that's definitely. I mean, even Ramones, I guess, is a little bit.
Oh yeah.
You can tell Green Day massively influenced by the Ramones. I don't mind. I love. Although you technically didn't class them as like punk, but I used to love Dr. Feelgood.
Oh yeah.
That was more. That was like before punk. That was like the class. It was called pub rock.
Pub rock.
Yeah. But yeah.
Hope our viewers can appreciate that this is a conversation between you two.
Yeah.
I've got next to no input in any
This
of
is
these
like
so
a third
far.
wheel right here.
I'm just asking questions.
And this another band that I would probably class. Probably if they came out in the late 80s, probably would have been classed as punk. But the sensational Alex Harvey band, they were unreal. Like, massive, like proper Glaswegian guy. Basically, he was like, I think he was 38, and he decided he wanted to be in a band, and he hired loads of people who were like 18, 19, 20 to be his band. So they lived like the rock and roll lifestyle, but because he was like in his 40s touring the world and stuff, he ended up having 2 heart attacks and died very early. So.
Oh.
Actually, one I've discovered recently, because I listened to Dave Grohl's audiobook, Scream. They are quite good. They're like really catchy on that. So.
Scream?
Yeah, so Dave Grohl drummed for them for a bit.
Oh, nice.
And then the guitarist from them actually joined Foo Fighters originally, but then he got kicked out. Because Dave Grohl just re-recorded everyone's parts. So the drummer left and that.
I forget that like the original like Foo Fighters albums and stuff was all just Dave Grohl.
Aye.
And they did have a drummer who played live, but he couldn't actually drum.
Yes.
He couldn't actually do the drums in a studio quality, like studio quality, which I find mental. Like someone like Dave Grohl couldn't find a drummer who could like record drums. Like,
Mind you, imagine having to be Dave Grohl's drummer. You
I know.
couldn't do it.
No, that's it. I guess it's a high standard, isn't there? Like,
Next one. At hi, my name is __Scott. How do you get so devilishly handsome?
Well, grow a beard, cut the emo fringe, then you can be like me.
Cut the emo fringe. Looks like you just kind of quiffed it back a
Yeah, I
bit.
did, to be fair. That's how I originally did it. And then I went to the barbers and I went, just cut it a bit, you know. And then they cut too much off at one point, so I've got it the right length.
Then it goes.
Hope he doesn't listen to this at some point.
Yeah, he follows up with, do you have plans to turn Fail to Ignite into a band or keep it a solo project? Before you answer that, we were really bad hosts here, James. For those who've never seen Fail to Ignite live, he is a pop punkist who plays solo loop pedal.
Sounds really bad.
But it's not wrong. Loop pedal, and it's a fantastic show, and we should have, even though you've been on the podcast before, should have introduced you a bit better, so we apologise.
I think that's our fault because we
just got straight into the
each
chat.
other now.
We know each other.
It felt too comfortable.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the question is, do you ever plan to turn it to a band or keep it as a solo project?
At the minute, it's just solo, to be honest. I played in bands for years, and then it was kind of like I wanted to try something different, so I was a bit burnt out, to be honest. And then
It's tough.
then basically it was like I was sat doing nothing, and I had like songs I was writing, and Emily was like, just do it yourself, get your loop pedal and do it yourself, because I was doing it in pub gigs similar to what you do, just doing covers. And then she was like, go on, just get your loop pedal, give it a go. And yeah,
It's worked.
I'm enjoying it as it is at the minute.
It's good because you've got full control, and it's good
Literally.
rather than being like, I hope this bass player doesn't mess up.
Mind you,
Yeah.
the bass player, the drummer, the guitarist and the singer mess up in my band.
Yeah. Get it a lot. At underscore Emmy Roll says, what's your favourite musical?
Right, so there's two that could possibly be here. Main one is Back to the Future that
Yes!
I've seen recently.
Yes,
It's
that was the
so
best
good, isn't
fucking
it?
musical
So
in the
good.
world. And I'm glad you said that.
Very, very close second. It has to be American Idiot the musical. One of the best
Oh,
musicals
never
I've
seen that
seen.
one.
Didn't know Back to the Future was a musical.
Oh, it is
so good.
absolutely. I couldn't
So
tell you any songs about it, but like I just
Okay.
used to.
Power of Love.
Oh yeah, apart from the Power of Love. But no,
Really good.
I mean, Back to the Future is one of my all-time favourite
Yeah,
films
yeah.
anyway. So it was just like to have that as a musical thing. It was quite funny, and it was just like I don't know. It was just reliving, telling the story again, but just in a theatrical
Where was
way.
it?
It's in London, the Adelphi Theatre,
Take a
specifically.
look one day.
Yeah,
I've seen the films. I wasn't aware of it being a musical.
I literally got the T-shirt. Like,
So have I.
liked it, yeah.
Hey!
I got the long shirt, but like, yeah, no, that was such a good. And like when the I'm not going to try and spoil it for people. But when the car comes out, like the
Oh,
end,
no,
like,
right.
Like I nearly cried. I was like, oh my god, really sad like that.
It's good to be emotional with adults.
Yeah, I know,
You know,
I just-
don't be sad.
Yeah.
Thing is, my partner, she was like, I'm going to get you into musicals no matter what. And I was like, I'm not bothered by them, you know.
Spoiler, she's the one that asked the question.
Yeah, exactly. No, but basically, she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get into musicals no matter what." And then she took me to see that, and I was just like,
I've noticed. I might go slightly off topic here, but I've noticed there's a massive revival in the theatre compared to the cinemas, and I think it is because they're making like theatrical adaptations of popular films.
Definitely.
And they work really well. I mean, we've been to see a few the Disney ones, and they're quite good. Like the way that they do it is really clever. And you notice there's obviously loads of dates, and you see it's like the theatre's kind of back, and it's I don't know, it's available for everyone.
Yep.
And obviously instead of Hollywood making like really terrible remakes of films, you're seeing these films, the stories that you like played out in a different way live, and it's good to see. And you got the full band as well. You can really appreciate. Like I can now. I never used to, but I can really appreciate like the compositions and stuff like that.
100%.
Especially if you're kind of at a height or like close, and you can literally see the band doing the work and stuff. You think, hey, God, it's a tough shift that when you're constantly like kind of having to work. But
I've got a musical question I've got to ask you two guys in the break, because it's a thing I'm kind of just toying with at the minute.
Conor Michael, the musical.
That would sell tickets.
the full Connor instead of the full Mike.
But final three questions we got in here. Again, at _Emmy Roll said, if you couldn't make your genre of music, what genre would you like to explore?
To be fair, I've done that many genres in different bands, but I'd kind of like to do something where I'm not using guitar, where I'm just using, like synths and stuff like that. Kind of like Nine Inch
Theremin.
Nails or like,
The reason that's funny, I did a gig years ago when I was first starting out, and I went in the student cafe, And it was one of those like proper student you get American student shows and they envision everything to be poetic and oh my god, that's beautiful. And when something's really bad, they're still like, that's fantastic. You can't have an opinion in music because it's beautiful, etc. And before I got up to do my gig, I'll set the room for you, a small room. There was a couple of, do you know the little wooden benches you had in your primary school PE? A couple of them on the side, leather sofa and stools behind them. Everybody's just sat like, oh wow, this is good. There's a guy on before me playing the theremin. And I was at the back going, I don't know what's going on. And everybody was like, this is amazing. Do you know what went through my head? You know that episode of Friends where Ross plays the keyboard? He's got the helicopter. You've just hit me flashbacks there when I mentioned theremin. No offence to any theremin players. I'm very confident. It's a talent to have. It's not something I would personally go and see live.
No.
But it was just the reaction to everyone else who was like, it's just... And I was like, I am in the wrong place. I'd probably get slaughtered for having a steak, you know what I mean? Oopsie. Genres.
Maybe something where like I don't use guitars, just to try something different, like just proper industrial.
Can you play any other instrument?
I play bass, which is technically guitar anyway.
It's just a less.
I do play a little bit of drums.
What do you do?
No.
That'd be cool.
Mind you, I want one of them stylophones as well, actually. I think they would be fun to have around the house. And I say a keyboard, but it's like literally basic chords and stuff.
Yeah, I can play a C.
Yeah, and then you just move it about, and then there you go.
No, I can play a C.
Oh, just transpose it each time you need to change it. You know?
Ding. Ding.
In fact, no. Ding. Well, that's the joys of looping it. You just play the C chord on loop, and then you just have to get ready. Right now, it's a G. It's everybody watching like a 5-year-old making music that way.
That's literally how I feel, you know, when I'm building up. I feel like a toddler that's been given lots of toys.
I'm currently doing like solo practices at the minute, just ready for this big gig. And I'm like, I need to take my build down from 2 minutes 30, right down to like 40 seconds at the most. And I'm like, I've got to try and figure out how to do this whilst playing, and it's such a different thing.
When you practice though, do you do it where you're like, how you all doing? You know, like proper.
Yeah, I'll walk towards the loop station like, hi Newcastle, how we doing? I've already started. I'm trying to like interpretate talking whilst also looping so that I'm killing time else. Well, you don't realise I'm killing time.
One thing Emily tells me off for, speaking of looping, is she says, oh, stop looking down, man. Stop looking down. It makes you look less confident. So that's one thing that I'm trying to improve on. I'm just looking...
And we say that, I still look to do a D chord. Oh. Don't get me started on A's.
Your A's like...
Have you ever seen me play an A chord before? Oh, it's literally like that.
Like Phoebe Buffet.
It's proper like the claw. Because when I was first learning, you meant to do that.
Oh, yeah.
And I couldn't, and it was pissing me off that I was muting other strings. So then everyone's like, do that, but then my fingers were too big. Oh. So then I went into like that kind of thing. And it's a really weird stance, but it's really good when I'm doing like an A7, and then I can take that up for like an A. It works for like going about. When me and James started doing duos, and he was like, I'll just follow your chords. And then I did that, and his face went...
What the fuck are you doing?
The fuck was that?
Like I knew it was an A, but I was like, is that like some sort of A demonic seventh or something like?
It's great. I suppose it is just like trying to do it without looking. But then I'm like, have you ever? Because we've got the same loop pedal now. You've got the point where you've hit it. It's just not registered that you've hit it. You're like, fucking.
Yeah.
I get that so much. I'm like, why is it? Oh, and then you have to re-record everything again.
Open it up. Sorry to anyone, I'm getting technical. Open it up, because sometimes they just need tightening the buttons. Because Boss, for some reason, went with quality control. Doesn't exist.
Do you just open it at the back, do you?
Yeah, I just unscrew it, and then it needs a really weird screwdriver, but yeah, it's possible.
You know, when you guys were talking about pop punk stuff, and I was sat there quietly.
It's all right. I don't, you know.
It's just good to know someone's on my wavelength there. 2 more questions and we'll take a short break. At HMV Newcastle said, who is your dream special guest to bring on stage at a headline show?
Ooh.
Anyone in the world, doesn't have to be independent. Or in fact, I'm going to alter that. One independent, one actual like.
That's literally how I was going to answer it as well. You read my mind. Not to lick arse, but I'd sounds really bad because he sat right next to us.
Okay.
I'd have Conor on because I think.
This is my favourite season of the podcast.
I'm being burnt there. I'm thinking
No,
it's alright, it's okay. It's
Not yet, turn the cameras on.
Honestly, I thought he was going with you there. Genres match, but
You did look at us when you said that, so okay.
No, I went on it.
oh, that was beautiful. That.
Right.
Sorry, you were inflating my ego.
Yeah, in all honesty, I'd have Connor at some point because I think 2 loop pedals would just be absolutely ridiculous.
Maniac. Maniac?
Maniac.
I don't know. Pop punkish.
That's very pop punk accent as well. But in terms of like a bigger artist, I'd probably have Mark Hoppus because he probably would say because he collaborates with everyone. You're just like, Travis Barker. 'Cause basically, if you make pop punk, Travis Barker will jump on that track.
Yeah, that is very true.
Well,
He'd be popular. He'd be able to kind of follow the loop as well because he's like.
He wouldn't need a metronome or anything. He'd be like,
or whatever Travis Barker does.
That's what he does.
He does.
do you think Mark Hoppus is ever like, can you just play normal for once so I can follow you on the bass?
Yeah, I know.
Final question before we take a break. At Stitch_Redman_music_management. What aspect of being a musician do you feel that you struggle most with being a solo artist?
Setting up and packing down. Cause,
really?
Yeah, because if anyone's seen my setup for Filtering Night, it's just ridiculous. There's just that many parts. And actually, at the Globe headliner, I was setting it up just before I went on, and I was like, "Why is no sound coming out?" And it turns out I'd plugged the thing from my drums as the output.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I remember that moment.
Or, to be fair, it's just carrying myself, basically, like keeping my own time. You'll find it as well. I think that's the hardest.
Cool. Yeah. Mint, well, we'll take a short break. We'll let James catch his breath and in his dignity somewhere, and we'll see you in part 3. Call me fucking Nathan. Number 1. This is too good.
I know.
Welcome back to part 3. Aww. I'm a shit actor. Yeah. Welcome back to part 3. We have failed tonight. Conor Michael and James Berry, aka Torn Apart by Lisa.
I'm not going to lie, I was confused there. I thought you meant like, we are Filtering Night.
We are, yeah. If you believe, you can achieve. So yeah, part 3, we haven't really changed it too much. We're kind of going to chat about what's gone on. We have decided this is episode 100, so all that commotion at the beginning, you probably like, oh wait, it's episode 100, which means we also know when this episode is out.
Yes.
Which to you guys means nothing. To us, it means we know what we can promote. So, as of the 4th of June, assuming we've stuck to that date, I'm hoping we have. What is happening? What are you doing this year? Because you've got a lot of like gigs planned, and I've seen you recording music. What's happening? What are you doing?
Well, on 14th of June, I'm dropping my next single called Sit Down. I've been opening my gigs with it for like...
You had a song like that once, didn't you?
What, James? Sit Down.
It's a pop.
Sorry.
No, you see,
it's as good as music banter I get.
I'm going to change it now to Stand Up.
Oh, stand up.
I've got that coming out 14th of June.
Cool.
I've learned that because I've not really been promoting it yet because I've learned that you should push it after.
Yeah.
And then I've got a few more singles that I'm planning, that I'm sort of finishing up. It's basically I just need to kick myself into gear to get them finished.
Yeah.
But then I've got tour in July, so I'm going to be playing Glasgow, Edinburgh, Leeds. I forgot where I was playing there. Leeds, and then Rotherham, and a big headliner in Newcastle, and in Head of Steam, that's 20th of July. And I've got plans to just make it this massive pop punk party, and it's going to have like loads of silly bits in. Because even though, my music's quite serious, I want to have fun with it as well.
Yeah, it's...
I might even have a big banner saying Nathan.
And the Tintins, that's not my name. In terms of when you put a tour on, is it a HMV tour? Is it like...
So
I've some and some?
So I've done the HMV tour, that by the time this is done anyway, I'm halfway through it. But yeah, it's basically just there was a booking agent, and he said, "Oh, I can put you on like these dates," and because I dropped him a message saying, "Oh, like could you do these dates, these dates?" I said, "Oh yeah, I can put you on this venue, this venue, this venue," and basically went from there essentially. But I thought for my first one, I want someone else to handle the really, really hard bits.
Yeah.
Especially because I don't know if you find it, if you message venues out your sort of like catchment area, no one gets back. Apart from few do.
Yeah. Perhaps even some of the ones that I'm booked in with are a bit like, just
trying to get an answer back.
Yeah. So are these headline shows, or are you just part of shows on some of them and a headline on some? And...
So the ones out of town, I'm going to be like supporting acts, because thing is I've not got like, you know,
the regional fan base.
The reach out there. Whereas like Newcastle, I feel like touch wood, that should do all right.
That's the way forward. Like my aim is to try and do more support shows, regardless whether it's Newcastle or like you say Rotherham or anywhere else. Because I kind of want to. I don't just want to build up a fan base and be like, that support act was good. But I kind of want to get the experience of hyping the crowd. Are you ready for your headline? I don't want to just be a support act.
That's it.
Here's some slow songs. Thank you for your time. I want to be the whole like, this is a gig.
A literal support.
I'm gonna start the energy. And if you've got another support act that aren't matching it, but that's their job to push that higher.
Yeah.
And I want to be part of that chain.
It's better to be like, sometimes it's better to be like a hard act to follow than follow a hard act, so to speak. Because sometimes bands I'm playing with where I'm on like middle slot and I'm like, oh god, how am I going to beat these? Not beat them, but like how am I going to keep this up?
I did it last year, so when I was doing my tour, I made sure I had bands on as my support act band, and the only one that tripped me up was the one I had in Sunderland, because the band was so much better, and I was like, I'll just fucking go home then. And they changed the name and became Torn Apart by Lisa. There you go, you can have a bit of ego. Yeah.
I was going to say almost another one.
No, that's cool. Is your booking agent pop punk genre only, or do they just?
No, they do all sorts, but they mainly specialise in like alternative.
Okay.
But they do loads, honestly.
So you want to look into it, to be fair?
Yeah, definitely. It's obviously I don't even have any. Well, no, I'll have one song out when this comes out. But look at that.
Yeah.
But there's a song I already had out that I need to bring out again. Honestly, I've just tripped myself up so much. I'm so indecisive that I like to change my name, and then, although to be fair, this particular song, it's this Espresso Martini song that's out now. For some reason, it didn't upload to Instagram, and I never got behind why, which is so annoying. Because there was loads of people with Espresso Martinis.
I remember, trying to tag you in.
Trying to tag and link the song, and they just couldn't at all. So I was just like...
Mind you, whenever I see Espresso Martini on a menu, I'm like, Espresso
James, isn't it?
Yeah, honestly, it's that's the plan.
Good. And then obviously you've got singles dropping and stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. When you record your songs, because when I follow your stories on TikTok and Instagram, you're always in like your home studio.
Yeah.
Do you just do it all at home, or do you just build your demos, then you go to a studio and you get it produced?
I always do it at home. So basically, after my last band that I did, I kind of went, right, what is a compressor? What does that do?
Yeah.
And I've sort of taught myself how to do it, but it's only this single that I've actually got like really good at speed producing, so to speak. So like getting the sounds right before I even mix it, And also like this is the first single where I'm like, this mix is like 100% what I want.
Yeah.
Because like I've struggled up until now, so but yeah, I sort of taught myself.
That's cool.
Just do it all myself, and
do you send it away to get mastered?
No, I mix and
master
do that
yourself.
Yeah,
that's cool. I used to send it away to a fella called Pete. But he also like mastered for like Damien Rice and stuff like that. And he does like discounted rates if you're an unsigned artist.
That's pretty cool.
But now I've got a production team where they mix and master it. So
I
don't know the single thing about it. I still don't understand why the 0 decibels on a volume button is so high up, and when you like turn the volume up, it should start at 0 and go up 1, 2, 3. It doesn't. It goes like minus 80.
I don't know.
It goes up to 0, then it goes, and you're like, just give me.
I've never understood that, but I know. For me, honestly, if there's like a producer like watching this, he's probably going, what the hell are you talking about? Because I don't really know myself. I just know that if I record and it's kind of like minus 20 or something like that, then when you master it, it just like, I think it's because it's like peaks. I don't know if it's to master it. It just brings everything up with it. But if you've already got something at like like 0 or like further up, it just clips.
Keeps that further.
It
can get very like everything's just static.
So you've got a good like, but I don't know. That's a really good question. I don't understand why they have it like minus, because surely you can't have minus decibels.
Minus sound.
Yeah.
That one's so quiet.
It's got to be something to do with like old technology and you've copied
100%.
Yeah, because I know like 0 is pretty much where you kind of want to be, isn't it? I usually push it a little bit more because it's competition and it's like
that's it.
You've got to sound louder than everyone else. Yeah,
get that clip game.
Yeah. I do that now. I produce and well, to be fair, the newer songs that we're doing, Carlos, our bassist, he programs the drums.
Oh yeah.
I'm just learning to do that now, but he's quite a wizard. Kind of, he loves kind of programming stuff. So he programs the drums. Oh, I'd say take it back. We take the recordings of what Vince does, try and recreate it in a program.
Oh yeah.
And then obviously then it's kind of clicked, and then kind of it gets taken to mine, and then I do all the mixing and mastering. So yeah.
Swanky. I pay a man to do all my work.
I wish.
I'm currently in a situation now where the vocals I'm recording are just not going down great because I am gigging too much. Yeah. It's horrible. I've generally had to cancel like 3 gigs coming up because I'm like, if I cancel my gig on Wednesday, I can go back to the studio on Thursday and just have like vocal rest kind of thing. But I've just got 9 songs to power through, and then I can go back to blow my voice out. You've got something out on Friday.
Yes, that is the song that everybody else knows and have heard of, that I've taken off Spotify because I've now changed the name of the band and I've changed the sound of the band, so I've remastered this song to make it more pop punky.
Remastered the band.
Yeah, remastered the band. So no Regrets comes out on the 7th.
Wow, that is a great day for music, James.
Yeah, because what else is coming out on the 7th?
I've got an EP coming out on the 7th of June, James. So far, I've already got 2 songs out this year. One called Come and Kiss Me, which has somehow become my most popular song of all time. Because I don't count Horse Outside. It's not technically my song. That one just naturally does well because people know the song anyway. Alone, for some reason, is doing a lot better than I thought it would because it's a slow song and people are meant to like it. But the 2 songs that are left to come out, there's one called All or Nothing, which is also the title of the EP. And there's one called Burning Alive. And I like to think there's something for everyone because All or Nothing is a nice, slow acoustic ballad. And Burning Alive is my attempt at being a rock star, and it's it's I'm not looking forward to singing that on stage because it's very much Burning Alive. But I was really listening to it, making like promo content the other day, and I was like, it's a good song though. I'm still in the middle of trying to have a collaboration with a rock band within the Northeast. Still in works with that sorting out. It might not actually happen, but if it does, it's going to sound great.
Well, if you need a rock band.
Well, you're not a rock band. My my plan is I've got the EP out Friday. My next EP is out in November. The album's out next July, and I'm trying to plan the end of next year. And I want to end with a collaboration EP.
Yeah.
Ironically, there is 2 people on this podcast on my left and right. I want to do a song with each. So hopefully we can get something sorted.
He's not vulgar this time. He's not vulgar.
I'm not mugging you on this time, James. We've actually wrote a song together called Welcome to the Show or something? It was something like that. We wrote it just before the pandemic.
I remember how it goes though.
To be fair, I do think collaboration is the way forward for
brilliant.
bands and artists, and that's something I want to do more of.
Especially different genres, because I think like if you put rock and rap together, people will be like, "What the fuck?" Then you go, "I bet that would work."
Linkin Park.
Yeah, it works. And just finally, because I want to plug it, 8th of June, tickets might have sold out by then, but if they haven't, I am a headliner in the Clooney 2 this Saturday, which is my release gig for the EP. Come along. I am trying to make Horse Outside the best version of it I've ever made it. Me and James keep playing it every Friday night in the Dubliner in the Points, and I feel like what we did last weekend is probably the best we've got it so far.
Yeah,
very interested.
I can't remember how it went though.
I don't want to say it with the camera, but it was
yeah, you know, so you're fine.
Yeah, there was 4 verses, there was mix and match songs involved. We had a big crowd jump and claps, and it was yeah.
If you don't nail it though, you can say this is not the greatest version in the world. It's just a tribute.
Yeah. Alongside that, I'm trying to make Come and Kiss Me a really good song at the minute for the show. But basically, yeah, get yourself down. It's going to be great. I've got support acts from a guy called Harrison Rimmer. He's from the Yorkshire region. And this is another, you said, tips for people in the industry. We're doing what's called I might be naming it myself here, a gig swap. He's supporting my gig in June to release the EP, and I'm going to be supporting one of his gigs. I think it's September, so it'll be booked. But for his single release, and that'll be down. Might not be Yorkshire, might be like Manchester or something, or Lancashire. Right. But that's another thing to do is if you not necessarily people in the same area, because like if you support you and you support you, you'll get the same people. But if you make connections with Rotherham and someone's like, oh, that was really cool, do you want to do it again? Yeah, mint right. Fail to Ignite is headline in Newcastle. You come support the show, and I'll come back to Rotherham, and you'll slowly see your fan base in that area. So definitely worth kind of collabing with outside the region if you get to know them.
Do like
also Tall Shaves is supporting.
Like a database or something, wouldn't it? Like the genres.
Yeah, definitely.
And then bands, and then the band, like each thing would link to like a Spotify or something with the songs and stuff.
That's a good idea.
I'll have to think about that. I have lots of good ideas, but I just never have the persistence or memory, or I'm like ADHD to fuck, so like I can never go through with things, but I've always got really good ideas. I need someone else to help us kind of like. But I'm like 2 cents, and it's whenever I have a drink, you see, it's like
I remember you said to us, this is after 2 pints.
Yeah, 2 pints, 2-3 pints is when the ideas just start.
That's all it is, yeah. And then the hangover says that's a bad idea. So just before we finish off, we're still going to do the singer-song at the end. What are you going to play for us today?
I'm going to play my upcoming single, Sit Down. Brilliant. Not James.
Yeah,
not you.
Again.
Thank you very much for listening, guys. Please drop us a follow. We are at Off the Stage UK. Personally, I'm Conor Michael UK. That's James Berry UK. Are you also Torn Apart by Lisa UK?
Just Torn Apart by Lisa.
There you go, at Torn Apart by Lisa. And your social handles for everything?
Fail to Ignite Official.
There you go. Straightforward. That's how it's meant to be. Thank you very much for coming back on.
Thank you for having me.
I'm sure you'll be back again.
Definitely.
We'll take a listen to the new song.
Yeah, absolutely. See you next week.
See you in a bit. Mint.
The weight of the world is on my shoulders, it's pushing me down, and I don't think I can make it when I'm living in this town. Could no one save me? Could no one help me? Just keep running round in circles, back to where we used to be. Sit down, I wanna make this right again. And sit down, all we seem to do is fight. And I've been here before, I've lost it all. Can we get back to where we used to be? All of the times I shared with you, just a waste of time. I was lost in the moment, I don't know if I'll be fine. Can no one save me? Can no one help me? Just keep running round in circles, back to where we used to be. Sit down, I wanna make this right again. And sit down, all we seem to do is fight. And I've been here before, I've lost it all. Can we get back to where we used to be? Sit down, wish I was by your side again. And sit down, forget about that night, 'cause we've been here before, I don't wanna lose you. I hope you come back here, just please come back to me. Sit down, wish I was by your side again. And sit down, forget about that night, 'cause hope you come back here. Just please come back to me.